right, let's see if I can do this. Let me move my chair out of the way just for a sec. There you go. Now let's see what I got here. I'm going to play my guitar just for a moment. Hello, Bob. How you doing today? It's good to see you. All right. There you are right there. Let me put this down. We're going to talk today about influences and focus. And I'm going to tell you some of my influences, things that influenced me in my musical journey and also in my life journey. And we're going to talk about focusing on... hold on just a second. What you need to focus on when you're playing the guitar or anything like that. Hello, Dean. Good to see you. Let me know if for some reason it doesn't sound good. I'm going to take my headphones off, so I'm not going to listen to myself all the time. But I'm going to bring up some pictures on the screen here so you can see what we're talking about. When you decide to play the guitar, sometimes it's harder than people think. And so they have to decide what am I going to do? What kind of music am I going to play? How much time am I going to spend on it and that kind of thing, because it is a commitment. So I'm going to talk a little bit about my influences, and let's just pull something up here. Oh, yes. Quail Studios music and lead sheets. I always bring this up. I like to bring this up because this is my book. And when you see my videos on YouTube, I put my lead sheets and my music in this book, and I update it every month. So those of you that are interested, you can get this. And it's got some theory in the back, too. Okay, let's go on. Oh, yes. And one other thing, if you want to help support the channel, this is something called Simple Joy Earrings at Instagram.com. And my daughter-in-law, Savvy, makes these earrings. And if you buy anything from her, then I will send you my book. Okay, let's go back to the beginning of what we're going to talk about today. Hello, Alan. How are you? Northern Ireland. Thank you for coming. It's great to see you. Fantastic. All right. So influences and focus. I've decided to start with actors. I'm going to talk about actors. I'm going to talk about bands. I'm going to talk about music and movies and different kinds of things like that, because these all help to shape my thoughts and who I am today. Andy Williams, I used to listen to the Christmas album by Andy Williams. I really love his stuff. They're amazing. Bing Crosby, my parents actually got married, I think it was in the late 40s. This is a picture of Bing Crosby from 1947. No, wait, that's a picture of Bing Crosby from 1947. And they used to listen to big bands and that kind of thing. And Bing Crosby was a part of their life, and so they shared that with me, obviously, when I got older. Mitch Miller, we had this album. It's called Sing Along with Mitch. It was a holiday album. I loved listening to it, and it was amazing. Amy Nolte, I don't know if you know Amy Nolte from Amy Nolte Music. She talked about this, Mitch Miller, in one of her videos just recently, how big of an influence Mitch Miller was back in the 50s and 60s. And I didn't really realize that. I just thought he was a a really fun guy to listen to. I mean, he had a big chorus and all that kind of stuff. Burl Ives, It's a Holly Jolly Christmas. You know that song? A lot of people know that song. Loved Burl Ives. Beautiful voice, very iconic. Nat King Cole. You know, Nat King Cole, he had the Nat King Cole Trio, I think it was. And he started out playing the piano and singing. And later on, he kind of dropped the piano and just went to singing. And I just love his voice, velvet voice. A lot of wonderful songs that Nat King Cole came out with. Oh, this is Natalie Cole. This is his daughter. She made a recording of her and her father doing a duet after he passed away. That was pretty cool. Sammy Davis Jr., this one came to mind. I used to love to watch Sammy Davis Jr. on the television. Gene Kelly. Gene Kelly was what we call a triple threat. He was an amazing actor, dancer, singer. So there was a lot of triple threats that I looked at when I was growing up and was really into. Gene Kelly, amazing triple threat there. Here's another picture of him. Here, Gene Kelly and Judy Garland dancing together. There he is in Singing in the Rain. You know, I heard that he was actually sick during this shoot. You'd never know it, right? Oh, James Cagney. He was a good bad guy, but he also played in a film called Yankee Doodle Dandy, and he was an amazing actor, singer, dancer too. There he is in Yankee Doodle Dandy, I believe it is. Dean Martin. My wife doesn't like Dean Martin, but you know what? I used to like Dean Martin a little bit. Dean says, you've just listed the typical list of performers on Ed Sullivan on any given Sunday. I forgot to put Ed Sullivan on here. That's Fred Astaire. Just trying to see if you were paying attention, right? Yep, Fred Astaire. Okay, let's go on. Oh yeah, this is a clip from It's a Mad, 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 Mad World. I don't know how many mads are in the title, but there's a bunch of actors that are in that film, and they had a ton of amazing actors. This is a publicity picture of the different actors, the main actors in the film. Jimmy Durante, he was at the beginning of the film. He was an amazing actor. Mickey Rooney, Buddy Hackett, Sid Caesar, Milton Berle, Dorothy Provine, Ethel Merman, Terry Thomas, Jonathan Winters. If you go back and you listen to Jonathan Winters, he was an amazing comic. Phil Silvers, okay, and Jonathan Winters there. Spencer Tracy, one of the great actors of before, 1940s, 1950s. Oh yeah, Who Kicked the Bucket? Thank you very much for that. Jim Backus. Jim Backus was in that film, and he was also Mr. Howell in Gilligan's Island. He was famous for that one. Don Knotts. I love Don Knotts. He was amazing. Eddie Anderson and Peter Falk. Dick Shawn. I wasn't a big fan of his. Edie Adams. Paul Ford. Jerry Lewis made an appearance in that film. Very short appearance where he was driving and looked really silly. Andy Devine, I believe he was in the film just for a moment too. Milton Berle was an amazing actor, but he wasn't in that film. But Jack Benny did, appear in that film very, very quickly. Okay, so I was influenced by these actors and their comedic performances, their singing, their dancing, and that kind of thing, and that kind of shaped my thoughts. I put Charlie Brown on here. It's one of the things that came to my mind. You know, Charlie Brown was big when I was a kid, and so that was an influence on me too. Cat Stevens. Now we're getting into a few of my favorite singer-songwriters, guitar players, singers, that kind of thing. Cat Stevens, I always loved this picture of Cat Stevens because loved his beard, loved his hair. I wished I could always look like Cat Stevens. James Taylor was a big influence on me. I've seen him a few times in concert. He's amazing. I really like James Taylor a lot. Elton John. Early Elton John was a big influence on me. You notice that I just played the piano. Well, I really like the piano. I actually started playing the organ when I was young, and that's because my mom and dad found out that I was playing the piano at school, and they decided to get me organ lessons. I don't know why organ lessons, but they bought an organ, and I got organ lessons for 6 years, from the time I was 6 to the time I was 12. But I always was amazed by Elton John. Neil Diamond. I really like Neil Diamond, singer-songwriter. He wasn't a fantastic guitar player, but I really liked his voice. Let's go back to Neil Diamond for a second. He wrote Red, Red Wine, which was also covered by UB40, which became a #1 hit. And he also wrote I'm a Believer. Some people don't realize that. He was an amazing songwriter. Jethro Tull. This is an early picture of Jethro Tull. They were my favorite band for about 10 years, from about 1971 to 1981, something like that. I really liked Jethro Tull. Let's go on. There's Ian Anderson in his classic pose. Here he is a little bit later. Ian Anderson is 10 years older than I am, and I heard him say one time in an interview, because I tried to find everything that he did or said, he said that he didn't listen to other composers and other music. He did listen to Beethoven and that kind of thing, and I thought, how can you not listen to other people play and sing and that kind of thing? I couldn't imagine it. So he was an influence on me to stop listening to a lot of the modern day performers so I could be original. The Beatles. Oh, this is an iconic picture of the Beatles. And yes, they were a big, big influence on me. I was born in 1957, so I'm a baby boomer. And I actually went, I think it was 1964, when A Hard Day's Night came out. My dad took me, and my mom took me to the theater, and we saw A Hard Day's Night in the theater. And when the songs came on, you could almost not hear the songs because of the screaming and the Beatlemania that was going on at the time. Also, Help, not only A Hard Day's Night, but the album Help was a big influence on me. Those were my favorites at the time when I was young. Glenn Campbell, this particular album came out, and I got it for Christmas when I was 10 years old. Wichita Lineman, I love that. Sitting on the Dock of the Bay, I love that song. And a lot of the other songs on there. If You Go Away, and let's see, Led Zeppelin. Who hasn't been influenced by Led Zeppelin? What's interesting is that Led Zeppelin was all over the radio. I had friends that loved Led Zeppelin, and I listened to Led Zeppelin. I learned, Stairway to Heaven and that kind of thing. But I've only had one Led Zeppelin album, and I bought it like 15 years ago, like in the early 2000s. So it's kind of interesting because, Led Zeppelin has been a big influence on me, but I never really bought any of their albums. ELO, Emerson, Lake and Palmer, ELP, excuse me. This is Brain Salad Surgery. I used to have this album, and I really loved it. There's Emerson, Lake and Palmer in concert. Deep Purple, Machine Head. I had this album, and I really loved Ritchie Blackmore. I think that's what it was, wasn't it? Oh, yeah, Ritchie Blackmore. And he also came out with Ritchie Blackmore's Rainbow. I was really impressed by that, too. Now, Steve Morris actually played with Kansas, and he actually played with Deep Purple for a couple of albums. And he's been in and out of bands. He had the Steve Morris Band. He had the Dixie Dregs a long time ago. That was some of his early stuff. You could go down any of these rabbit holes and really listen to and look at these artists and really find out a lot about them. As I was doing prep for this particular live stream, I was starting to go down rabbit holes and was like, I can't talk about all of that. Neil Young. Neil Young was a big influence on me when I was in the 70s, early 70s, when I was in high school. Really big influence. I really like him. I've always liked Neil Young. Roy Clark, I used to watch him on TV when I was a kid. This was back in the 60s, and really thought that he was amazing. Let's go back to Glenn Campbell just for a second. I used to watch him on TV. There was a Glenn Campbell show, and I used to think if I could play the guitar like Glenn Campbell, I would be good. And I think he's a better guitar player than I am. Unfortunately, he's passed away now. Simon and Garfunkel, huge influence on me, Simon and Garfunkel. I love Simon and Garfunkel. A lot of things that Paul Simon has done, solo and also with Simon and Garfunkel, amazing. Let's see, Love is Blue. This is a song that was one of my favorites back when I was 10 years old. I called a radio station a couple times and said, would you play Love is Blue? And it took them an hour and a half to get it on. And finally they put it on, and I taped it because I loved it so much on a reel-to-reel tape. Dizzy. This one came to my mind, Tommy Rowe. I loved this song when I was a preteen, or just early teen. Hawaii Five-0, The Ventures. I loved The Ventures, some of the things that they would play, their music. Walk, Don't Run. That Walk, Don't Run was actually done a long time ago. It was like written in the 50s or something, but a couple of people covered it. And I think one of the most famous ones was The Ventures version of that, Walk, Don't Run. Oh yeah, the Beach Boys. They were an influence and big back in the 60s. And we could talk about them. Mellow Yellow, this one came to my mind by Donovan. I really liked the song for some reason. The Guess Who was one of my favorite bands. American Woman I really like that song. No Sugar Tonight. I love that song too. Love his voice. It's a very interesting voice, the lead singer. Let's see here. Oh, the Mamas and the Papas. I used to listen to them back in the 60s when I was growing up. Peter, Paul, and Mary. Yes. Three Dog Night. In the 70s, in the early 70s, when I was learning to play guitar, I would go to dances and listen to bands cover Three Dog Night. And they didn't cover Queen, but when I was about 17, I think I was 16 or 17, Killer Queen came out, and I just thought that was the most amazing song. The Doobie Brothers, again, back in my early high school days, I'd hear people cover these songs, and I thought these are amazing. Robin Trower, Bridge of Sighs. I was in a band, and I'll talk about this a little bit later too, and we covered this song, and I sang the lead for it. Wait, did that have any words? I don't remember. Okay. I forgot to put David Bowie on the screen, but he's, he was an influence on me too. This is a picture of Rowan and Martin at Rowan and Martin's Laugh-In Comedy Hour. I used to listen to those all the time. Let's get into a few of these TV shows just for a second. Dick Van Dyke Show, Mary Tyler Moore, Bewitched, The Wizard of Oz. The music and the acting and the influence that came out of all of these were really interesting. The Wizard of Oz is interesting because we get, the bad witch and we get the good witch, and we've never actually let go of that kind of thing, witches and that kind of thing. This is a picture of Harry Potter, The Prisoner of Azkaban. That's one of my favorite Harry Potter movies. I think it is my favorite. I think it was produced very well, and the music is amazing, and we could talk about that too. John Williams actually did the music for the Harry Potter films. He also did the music for the Star Wars films. And I was in this theater in 1977 when A New Hope came out, episode 4, and was completely blown away by that music. And in about that time, I started studying orchestration, and I had been to college for a year or so. And also in the early 80s, I studied orchestration and actually thought about becoming and working towards becoming a composer, movie score composer, but found out that I really didn't want to do that. The Empire Strikes Back, that's one of my favorites. Episode 4, Episode 5, A New Hope, Empire Strikes Back. Those are my two favorite Star Wars movies. The other ones, I started to lose, with the third one, it was like, Episode 6, I was like, I wasn't quite so thrilled. And we won't talk about the other ones right now. I Love Lucy. Who has not been, influenced by I Love Lucy? Lucille Ball. I Love Lucy ran from 1951 to 1957, I think it was. And I used to watch reruns all the time. Beverly Hillbillies ran from 1962 to 1971. That was hilarious. Loved watching that when I was a kid. it's interesting because I start thinking about what I used to watch on TV. What's interesting about TV is that I watched TV in the 60s and in the 70s, but stopped watching it sometime in the mid 70s. We used to watch TV every night when I was growing up. Like after dinner, we'd turn on the TV until we went to bed. And that was, we literally did that every night except Sunday night. And sometimes we did it on Sunday too. Jesus Christ Superstar, I saw that one time a live version of that. Godspell, off-Broadway musical. I was in Godspell in high school. And then after high school, I actually played Jesus in a run, and that was an amazing time. Scrooge, this was the 1970 Albert Finney musical of Scrooge. Let me look at, let's see. Oh, yeah. Rudyard Kipling, Rod McEwen, Don McLean, Vincent, Gordon Lightfoot, Virgil Fox. I'm not sure who he is. Okay, so let's go on. I was just looking at some of the comments here. Anyway, Albert Finney. Here's Albert Finney again in Amazing Grace, the movie Amazing Grace, when he was older. This is actually when he was younger, back in 1970, and they did a great job with his makeup because he looks old, but he also is a young man in that movie. I really like Albert Finney. He was a singer. Well, a little bit. Guys and Dolls. Marlon Brando and Frank Sinatra and that whole cast. That's amazing. I loved Mutiny on the Bounty with Marlon Brando. This is The Sound of Music with Christopher Plummer. And of course, Julie Andrews is amazing. I really loved Mary Poppins and her work with that, with Dick Van Dyke. Oh yeah, Batman and Robin. Batman, I was probably 8 or 9 years old or something. I remember being sick and watching the first Batman on TV. That was amazing. Adam West and Burt Ward. That's 1966. Lost in Space. Oh yes, I used to watch this. Oh look, there's Angela Cartwright. She was actually in. We go back a little bit. She's right there, second from the left. That's Angela Cartwright in The Sound of Music, and then there she is on the left in Lost in Space. I really liked Angela. I think I had a crush on her. Gilligan's Island. All these wonderful people. Of course, it was only ran for 3 years, but what a big influence. Not only music, but also the acting and the comedy and that kind of thing. The early Star Trek, I think it only ran for 3 years. Here's 1966. That, of course, turned into a crazy, huge franchise. Johnny Carson, The Tonight Show with Johnny Carson, 1962 through 1992. He ran for 30 years, and here's Paul McCartney, talking to Johnny Carson. Let's see. Now, that's me sailing on a Hobie Cat. Now, that's not a Hobie Cat 16. That's a wave. They call it a wave. But this is one of my favorite things. Let's talk just for a minute before I talk about sailing, because I love sailing. But I stopped watching TV around 1975 or so, 1976. I came home from a band practice, and my mom and dad were watching TV, and I just went, I'm not interested anymore. I was off on music and that kind of thing. I started performing, studying, working, and I was into guitar and piano and that kind of thing. So I stopped watching TV, and I discovered that I love, this is my favorite sport. I actually discovered this sport back in about 2008, competitive sailing with Hobie Cats. I've trained and sailed with some really, really good sailors in the Western United States. And let's see, here I am on, this is Lake Arrowhead in California. That's San Diego Bay. I'm out there somewhere, and the green sails are mine. There I am in Puerto Penasco in the Sea of Cortez, just off of the coast of Mexico. sailing. This particular picture was taken. My left hand is broken. I broke my knuckle that day, the day before actually. And, or maybe it was 2 days before. This was a Sunday, and it was Friday that I broke my hand, but I was in Mexico and I didn't leave. I actually won my division with a broken hand, and that's my crew member. Let's see. That's me, third green sails from the left. There I am again. This is still Puerto Penasco. This is me on Sand Hollow. Dean, you'll like this. This is Sand Hollow on a Hobie Cat. What's it called? Anyway, yes, that's me. You can see me in the white hat there. This is on Sand Hollow. This is my first boat with my new green sails. This is at Lake Arrowhead with my friend Raul. 113641. That's my boat right over there. And there's my first boat on Sand Hollow, and I'm there with my kids. And here I am on my Harley Davidson Road King, and my son is on another Harley, and we're going to go for a ride that day. And this is my son Levi, my youngest son, and he and I, they were in San Diego. This was years ago, about 2011 or 2012, and he went with me, and we did sailing that day. Okay. Let's see here. Let's close this. Now, the reason I talked all about that is because those are influences that I had in my life. I played the organ for 6 years, from the time I was 6 to the time I was 12, probably because my mom and dad used to watch Lawrence Welk or something, and they liked the organ player. At 12 years old, I played the guitar. I played trumpet for 3 years. I played the cello when I got into college at 18 years old. I played the piano and when I was 18, and actually studied for 2 years with a concert pianist. I had 4 different voice teachers, and let's see, I need to back that up so I can read it. And over the years, studied a lot. I did choirs when I first got into college. I have done several barbershop quartets and an a cappella choir. I was in a jazz choir called the Meister Singers in the Los Angeles area. And I performed in shows, singing and dancing from about 1974 to about 1993. My first band was called the Johnstown Flood when I was 15 years old. I had a garage band when I was 17, and that's when we did Robin Trower and David Bowie and things like that, and some Jethro Tull too. I was in a band called Renaissance in the LA area for about 2 years, and we performed a lot, about 30 hours a week, and that's where I became a very, very good guitar player. Just, playing like crazy. Let's see here. I was in a band called Pride when I was about 23 years old, and my last band was called Steadfast in the early 2000s, and we played in the St. George area. I was a solo artist at the Red Mountain Resort in Ivins, Utah from about 2010 to about 2014, and I loved competitive sailing, like I said. I've been the executive director and teacher in private high school for a couple of years in Orem, Utah. I was head of a music program at Sunhawk Academy in St. George, Utah, which is a drug rehab, and did that for 12 years. I've been a private music teacher for 39 years and full-time for 28 years. I've been a YouTuber for 9 years. I've loved photography since I was a teenager, and sound design and sound recording. Now, why am I telling you all this? I'm telling you all this because I think I've been not focused completely on the guitar. And so I wasn't as good at some things, that I'd been before. I mean, if I just focused on guitar and that's it, I would be an amazing guitar player. Or if I just focused on my voice, I'd be a super amazing singer. Or if I just focused on piano, or if I just focused on, orchestration, or if I just focused on composing or something like that. But when you're, with Paul McCartney and some of the other people that I talked about, Cat Stevens and Elton John and Neil Diamond and all these people that I kept seeing all these people that were singers, performers, dancers, all that kind of thing. And I tried a lot of different things. And so I've had a lot of different influences in my life. If you want to be really, really good at something, then you need to focus down on it. Well, I've been lucky that I've been able to focus on my music for quite a few years. And piano, organ, guitar. I have Quail Studios Guitar. This is my channel. But really, I don't do piano on here, hardly at all. And that's because I wanted to focus on guitar just on this channel. Anyway, you decide what you want to focus on and what you like. I'm going to go talk to my supporters over on Zoom here in a minute. Thank you for coming. Thank you for being here. Albert, hello, Albert. It's good to see you. Haven't seen you on Zoom for a while. That's okay. Jeffrey Taha. He looks like he retracted a message there. That's fine. Thank you for coming. Okay, I'm going to go here pretty soon. That's life, though. Man plans and God laughs. Man plans and God laughs. Okay, Bob, you're right. This is true. Life goes on, doesn't it? It goes by so fast. I wish I had another lifetime, and then I would only do sailing. And if I had another lifetime, then I would only do composing. And if I had another lifetime, then I would try to be a rock star. And if I had another lifetime, then I would do some other things. There's so many things to do in this life, but there's never enough time to do all the things that we would wish. So we have to choose. What's the best thing to do? Okay, we'll talk to you later. See ya.